Test, test. Good morning. How is everybody this morning? Good, good morning. I think we're ready to get started. We have a quorum. Dale Reynolds is online. So as we get started this morning, this is a workshop, so we don't start it traditionally with everything like we normally do. So we will just dig in, but we will start with roll call, and then Clay, I'll have you open us.
Here.
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 Here. But I don't believe your mic is on, so I don't know that I heard you. I just heard a faint whisper.
Oh, you know what? That's probably why Dale didn't answer too. Let's.
Okay, sorry, I did not have
Yeah,
a
we cannot hear.
Okay,
Or,
Dale, I'm gonna mark you yes. Chan?
Here.
Ryan?
Here.
Oh, I got Victor.
Okay, so I think we have all of council here. We have 1, 2, 3 online and 3 present. And then, so I think we're good to go. Okay, so Clay Long's going to kick us off, and here you go.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, Commissioners. Just to kind of set the stage for this morning's meeting, the fire department and district future annexed the city of Nampa for fire protection in 2021, which caused changes to our operational practices and procedures as far as equipment and real property. Over the last several years, we've continued to work through some final things that need to be finished with that transition. Many of those are still at staff level discussion and trying to wrap up some of those things. My hope is to be back to council in November with a staff update on the rest of those items as we finalize them. But the goal for this morning's meeting, as we've worked with fire admin, was to have a conversation and dialogue around 2 specific areas. Number 1 being the fire admin space. As a reminder, I did present and provide information regarding the space that was utilized by fire admin in the current location. And for the CIP, council did approve an amount of money for reimbursement based on the growth that the police department had and that space being used by police for that and relocating fire admin. That bucket of funds being available to council for their discretion on that for the fire admin space that they're currently occupying. The other item for this morning was regarding the impact to budgets that Urban Renewal District has for the tax base right now, and recognizing that being a constraint, also recognizing that's going to sunset. But I know that's been a challenge, both fire and city, for budget perspectives, and so an opportunity to have that conversation and discussion this morning. So with that, I will turn it back to you for the discussion. I believe if I know the commissioners have prepared some things and information, it sounds like, Chief, so maybe turn it over to Kirk.
Good morning. Please excuse me, I have a little bit of a tickle, so we have the Kleenex protecting the people next to me. And I want to thank both council and commission for coming. It's not often we get this opportunity. Mayor, after yesterday, I feel like we probably should have opened in prayer with the reminder of that. So I appreciate your words yesterday. And I think just before we get started, just wanted to reiterate, the fire department will always be a supporter and a good partner of the city. We try very diligently to live by our vision and core values, and our vision is very similar to the city's. Ours is excellence, excellence, service, and strength and unity. And so when we think about those words for us, they really do apply to all things. And that strength and unity isn't just within the fire department, it's with our community, it's with our council, all those things. And so we get to today. It's been a long time since the annexation occurred. Time has passed, and new members are on council, and so I know that for us, we remember things a certain way. Council will have thoughts and perspectives a certain way, and those might not align, and that's okay. We can have discussions and we can have disagreements, and when we leave the room, our vision and core values don't change. We're still a supporting partner, and will always be a partner of the city and the divisions within it. I think today we really can focus in on, we have just this one item that we have some disagreement in or different perspectives in, and to kind of give some, I guess, some highlight or review. I guess for the fire district, or I'll speak personally, there is a little bit of emotion in it, and so that can cloud things. When we annexed the city, we had been moved from the public safety building to where we are now, and we, as a city, as an entity of the city. And so I think internally there's this piece of me that says, well, if we would have stayed with the city, we would have a home. And so that feels like to me that should also be today, because we're still a partner with the city, and in fact we have the same constituents. The taxpayers that you represent are the same taxpayers that we serve and represent as well. And so I think today we're just asking more for some clarity as to the decision of council, and then really past that, just a request to help. As a taxing district, we are solely property tax. We don't have the opportunity for very small opportunity for revenue. So when we are looking at a large sum of money, there is no revenue opportunity for us to gain those funds from. So for us, without a grant, we're literally 98% property tax dependent. And so as you guys are experiencing House Bill 389, it just as much impacts us. So every opportunity we can get to find increases in our budget, we pursue. And that was one of the reasons we wanted to talk about Urban Renewal District, is we do know that there's a new law that allows for fire districts to opt into urban renewal into the future. We did know when we approached urban renewal this year that we are encumbered. And so we knew we weren't going to be released. Our goal was to just say, hey, when these encumberments are gone, we would like to be released. And the encumberment I'm speaking of is the bond on the public safety building. And I think in that is the little piece of emotion, is we have $1.2 million, of which some belongs to the city and some belongs to us, that is taken every year in increment, and it's paying off a building that we're not going to be a part of. And so that feels weird, and it stings a little bit, because that's for a long time. that amount of money would be significant for our organization. And so when we talk about urban renewal, we're not trying to ask you to pitchfork and torch with us to get us out. We're just asking if there's opportunity, whether that's urban renewal purchases a piece of property for us or can assist us in finding a new administrative building. That's where we're looking for help. But we need some ideas as to what we're going to do for an administrative space. And every dollar that comes from our reserves is a dollar that'll come from something else, usually capital or purchase of apparatus. And so I think that's the space we're in, is we are at a point where we got to figure out what to do. I can only imagine, because we are in the same boat, we don't want to talk about this anymore. We, as you, want it to be done. We want to move forward with collaboration and cooperation, and this is really the one sticking point that we have left, that if we can complete it, then I think the rest is all smooth, because everything else is already in partnership and in good standing. So I guess with that, Mayor, I can either open it up to council and commission to ask questions, or if you have an idea of where to go from here, but really it's just the one piece.
Thank you. One comment I want to make is that one thing I really appreciated when we walked through this process, it had begun before I came in as mayor, and we completed the process. And the thing I loved about it was that it isn't an us against them. And so I just want to say, for council, this is we, because these are our citizens. We all are facing the exact same challenge, and that is 389 and urban renewal. I have to say, it's hard for the city because all of our budgets have gotten tight, but we're all facing those same issues. So as we enter into our discussion, I just want to remind us, it is we, collectively, how do we meet the needs of our citizens? And I just have appreciated working with Kirk through this process. And yes, it has paused for quite some time, right? So we all face the same challenges, and we all also understand on the urban renewal side what that is. And we know the legislation, et cetera. So I do have an idea of a suggestion, but I think at this point, let's open it up. I don't know how we want to move forward. Councilman Bills?
Yeah, a couple of comments, and I think we're going to need some clarification as well, Clay. So when the chief is saying that we're down to a couple items, we may need to turn down. So I still have questions on a couple other issues. So if we're down to one issue, and that's admin and urban renewal, then I think we need to know how the other issues have been agreed upon or not. And then as far as the sunset, so urban renewals debt goes away in 28. And so I'm not sure if you're thinking.
It actually doesn't hit our budgets until 32. So it's in 32, it's when it's going to hit our budgets. And I think the payment, maybe there's one in 28, but I think it's a little after that. And there are attorneys online if we need to ask her if she knows the date.
Yeah.
But it hits our
there's a
budget
time-
in 32.
There's the time of the actual sunset of the district, and that's what I was trying to clarify. If you were talking when the debt is gone for urban renewal, or when the urban renewal sunsets.
Yeah, thanks, Councilman Bills. Yeah, that was our hope, is that when the debt was gone, that the fire district could be released from the urban renewal district.
Okay, that's how I was understanding, but I want clarification.
Yeah, I mean, if we could be released today, that'd be great. But understanding that the law was written that if it's encumbered, that's not an option.
Correct.
And so our hope is that once that encumbrance was gone, and we knew that there's two bonds actually, that we could be released from the urban renewal.
Correct. One wraps the other.
Yep.
And so 2028 is the time frame on that.
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that we were talking that date versus the 31, 32
Yeah.
date.
Yeah, and then Councilman Bills, I guess the other items, I would assume it's probably training, and then Station 5 are the other two pieces that we continue to work with the city. For training, the 10-year notification, we're good with. We believe 10 years, although when you look at replacing that type of asset, it's huge. It would be $30 to $50 million to replace that facility. We just know that 10 years is enough time that we can make that plan happen.
Yeah, from my side, because of the real estate lease agreement, et cetera, it would be good for the city to give the 10-year notice. You can always extend an agreement, but if you don't give notice, then you don't have an end date already established. Whether it's a true end date or have to go out, a year at a time.
Sure.
So that was my thinking on that issue, was that the city should give the 10-year notice, and then it's just a matter of looking as that time goes. But it gives direction to both parties. And our admin, are we settled on that issue? The admin space, what we're doing there?
We have, it's in the works right now for contract, which would have to come back to council for approval for a lease agreement. I think that's part of the discussion today of fire admin, and if we move forward, we'll bring to council the request for distribution of the CIP from the impact funds for that amount. At the same time, we would bring that lease agreement forward as well. So there would be the two items. When I say that the others are still in works, would be with staff. We have that. We also have dispatch. There's other items that aren't ready, that I don't think there's a final from the fire, especially on dispatch, of what we're prepared for. I know they continue to have conversations. I'll let them speak to it if they want. But the hope is that when we get to in November, if we can do a staff update or bring stuff to you, as a council, we're ready for it. So it's not that these are all signed, sealed, delivered, and done. It's that those are still things that are in progress that we've gotten council's direction on to move forward on those pieces. But once they're finalized and ready for council approval, then we would bring them back to you.
So it seems like, from my perspective, to finalize everything with the district, at some point, we need a workshop where everything's on top of the table, here's the final deal, and if there's concurrence or not.
And that's what
We're
this is.
nibbling away at it, and rather than hitting every issue and just getting an agreement, so.
I think this is that, and if I could just say, so Kirk and I, we've talked about, and I know that Clay, you've been the communication link. We haven't given the notice, but there's the understanding that that will be given. We need to go ahead and give that. So as far as all the items to wrap, dispatch was not part of the original separation. That was not part of that. It's somewhat of a separate issue, but it all comes together. So really, the outstanding issue, we've not given payment to fire, which was the $880,000, correct? That has not been issued yet, and we've not begun the rent payment.
Correct.
I think, so we've got the training facility, 10-year notice that we've discussed. I think we're in agreement. We recognize we're going to do that. The challenge that we've got, just candidly, is that in the pausing that has happened over months and months, the building is no longer available that they had looked to move into, and there is not a building they can afford to get into. And so that has put them in a very difficult place with
So
the admin building.
We continue to look. We are daily watching the market. There had been the one building that was possibly within our price range. Right now, we're finding nothing under $2 million that wouldn't also require a considerable amount of money to rehab into an office space. We've looked at everything from Wahoo's appetizers to dentist office to anything that was available. And right now, really, the least expensive building is right at $2 million, and it would cost a considerable amount of money to make it usable for an administrative space. So we're considering all options. whether that's new construction, whether that's, all those things are at play. And so we are trying to be open-minded and have vision for that. But what we do know is there isn't a space in the city of Nampa at $880,000 that would fit our administration.
So,
So can I,
yes.
still, a couple things, just commenting on what you just said. For the notice given to us for training grounds, is there plans for expansion for the water district in 10 years?
Well, there's been discussion on trying to have the master plan of what the city's going to need. The difficulty is whether it's going to be in 10. Some comments have been it may be 20 out. But from a lease point of view, it's better to give the 10-year notice. And then if the city doesn't have a need, is to provide extension information as time goes on, from my perspective. If you go down 5 years and then say, we got a need, that 10-year mark turns out to be correct, and we haven't given notice, then
I understand
we're
from
5
that.
years behind, so.
I understand from that perspective. My feeling on this is if we do give, or if there is a notice given that, I would say that the only reason that they would be able to kick us off of that property or say remove us from that property would be for the expansion of the water district and for nothing else, right? So my fear, my concern is that the city gives us notice, moves us out, and then it's given to the police or some other entity where we've put a lot of infrastructure, we've put a lot of buildings on that property that fit the needs of the police or the fire department. And I would say that property is for the water district, right, for future expansion. And so for the only reason we would vacate that property is for future expansion of the water district.
Well, it may be, the goal right now is the water district, but in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, it may be identified, water district activity is going to move to a different location, and that particular property is needed for another ancillary, possibly to wastewater or otherwise, or roads, the traffic side. So I don't think we lock in as for this specific use only, and the reason for the notice, the issue for the notice is 10-year notice is a substantial notice, and I believe the city needs to give that notice in order so that the parties go, okay, we have that date, and at the same time as year to year goes, the communication stays open and good between the city and the district to say,
But
we're out there a little ways still, but there's no hard and fast yet.
I understand your reasoning for this, but we are in this meeting because city council and some other leadership positions have changed over, a couple times over in some cases. And let's say we get 5 years down this road, or we get further down this road and everybody's changed over, everybody's new. And then all of this information is somewhat lost. And so what I'm saying is let's put some guardrails around this.
Well, the
Because
guardrails
the biggest thing is when or if we do remove ourselves from that property, like Kirk said, it's going to be 30 million, 50 million, whatever it is to build or get something similar and build to what we currently have now. And like Mayor Clink said, we represent the tax, we are the tax people. We are all one body. So one way or another, it does impact our tax base. So that's why I'm saying, instead of saying, let's just remove us and kick that can down the road and kick it in our court for spending more money on that, I'm just saying, for our needs, I'm just saying put some guardrails around this.
Well,
Mayor?
there's options that can be discussed and continue to be discussed on that issue. It's just, with that kind of notice, it's important that we're in that discussion. We don't wait till year 9 and then say, oh, we never gave notice, as some of these other things we thought were finalized, and no, they weren't finalized. So I'm just seeing that the two entities need to finalize all the issues and bring it to a close and continue a very strong working relationship, but to know here's the
Councilman Griffin?
Thank you. Just a few quick points before I need to hop off. But number one, for Doug, where does the 886,000 or whatever the exact number is come from? What pot of money? I know we've talked about it multiple times. But I just need definitive clarification of the fund balance and where it's coming from.
Councilman Griffin, I believe that is coming from impact fees. And I know it's coming from impact fees. And that balance, I mean, the funds are there, and it is coming from impact fees.
Thank you. I would also echo David Bill's point. I can appreciate wanting guardrails, and I think the 10-year is the guardrail. The city has significant needs, so if we have to go and purchase other property for an expansion of wastewater or a fleet building or anything else, when the city has property and is able to continue using that property, in my position, I think the city has given significant consideration. The 10-year notice is significant consideration. And if it is a $20-30 million fire district bond that has to be put in place to be able to purchase and build the infrastructure and facilities for a new training center, unfortunately, it would be the fire district has the bond or the city has the bond to go purchase new property to be able to build the infrastructure for the city's needs as well. So it's a situation where I wish, unfortunately, it hadn't been hashed out prior to the separation of the two entities, and now we're having to do that. For the city's interest, and as council member, that's what I'm trying to consider. Not saying that the fire district isn't also considering the city's interest. We're all here to serve the taxpayers. In the terms of the city's property and real estate, that piece of land, and from discussions that we've had, is something that is part of the vision in 10 years and potentially 20. And if we're going to continue out that vision, that land is essential and necessary. Or we give it to the fire district and we'll have to end up bonding to be able to purchase and acquire additional property to do the exact same thing that we're anticipating we'll need in 10 or 15 years. So before I hop off, I echo a lot of Councilman Bill's perspective. So I feel strong in where he lands is likely where I would land on a lot of these things. So if I am not here for a final vote, just consider his comments as mine.
Thank you. And this, just so we
Sorry
know,
for that pressureman, Councilman.
so there will be no action taken today because this isn't agendized as an action item. I will say the intent of that property is the wastewater treatment plant because it isn't something we can go purchase someplace else. It's because of its contiguous nature. I understand and I hear what you're saying, Nick. And I have to say, I agree with you. And I think that we can put some guardrails on it. And I would recommend an agreement that, first of all, a one-year extension is going to be really tough because you still have to gain the money. But if in 5 years from now, I think that there should be a recheck on where we are because you guys are going to have to be setting aside money and figuring this out, and it's not going to be a quick process. I hear what you're saying. Don't kick us out and then say, police, you have this facility. That is not our intent, and I know it's not your intent, and so I understand that what you're saying because you're right. When new people sit in these seats, if we don't accurately reflect what we're doing in writing, the institutional knowledge goes away. And that's one reason why we need to get this done, because I was part of these early discussions. And while I have no authority as mayor to commit the council is the one that makes these decisions. I can speak to the intent. And Kirk and I, we worked really hard, and there was an entire team. The intent was one of mutuality, right? Because we all serve the same citizens. And so as I will repeat my early comments, it's we, because you're going to have the same challenge coming up with dollars that we are. And so I would encourage us as a council to actually note the reason, right? It's for expansion purposes of our wastewater treatment plant. And just so you know, that next building over, we're doing the same thing with it. We did an extension on that agreement, which I think is coming to a close. We will not extend that one, I don't anticipate, because we are needing that space coming from the other direction. And so it is long-term, it is part of the master plan for the wastewater treatment plant. It may not happen in 10 years, but I think we need to reassess it. Maybe 5 years down the road, we can come back and say, you know what, I think we're another 5 years, so at least you know you've got 5 years, but, or whatever it is, because at the last minute, to give an extra year doesn't help you. It would be virtually impossible, right? So you're either pushing to 10 years or not. So I think those are discussions that we can have when we write something.
Mayor Kling,
Yes.
Kirk, could you tell me, Reader's Digest version, what is it you are really looking for here?
An agreement on funds for the purchase of a new administrative building. And we're fine with the 10-year agreement on training. I think just as I think through it, if the wastewater is expanding and another piece of land was purchased, either way, the facilities that go on any piece of land for wastewater is going to cost a large amount of money. And so where Councilman Griffin is correct, if we were needing to move from our training facility, there's no saving for a new training facility. It is a bond. There is no way with the cost of our equipment and gear that we would be able to save $30 million in 10 years. And so it is a bond or a levy override if that was to occur. And really that's the cost of being in service, right? So what I would guess is if the lease is noticed and we're given the 10-year notice, we would start educating our community that we'll be coming for a levy override soon or a bond at this time to construct a new training center. But really today, the urgent need, right, is if we're gonna be given notice at admin, then within the time frame, we would want to be out of the administrative building and into our new home. Again, every dollar that we spend out of our budget needs to be towards our growth, and paying a lease isn't for growth in my mind. We would need to be using that money to purchase a new building.
Well, Kirk, the $886,000 is what you're looking for right now. It could be more as time goes on. Is that right?
So we understand that the council did approve the 880 for impact fees. I guess what we're relaying is there is nowhere in the city of Nampa that $880,000 will purchase administrative space for our admin. And so I guess the ask today is to help us think creatively on how we can do this, and is there opportunity, whether that's through the Urban Renewal District, whether that's through fiscal contributions, just some thoughts as to how we can move our administrative outside of a city facility and have our own. And I think Councilman Rodriguez, that's the point, right, where we're at, is there's some emotion behind that because we still continue to contribute to a building that we're not coming back to. And so that asset stays with the city when the urban renewal sunsets, and all the assets that are being paid for. And so we're contributing significant amount of money to those, and yet we're still having to find this facility for ourselves.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilman Haverfield?
Thank you, Mayor. Chief, appreciate you and you coming today. Actually, I appreciate the department coming and putting out the fire on 12th Avenue this last weekend. It was near our home, and you guys did a wonderful job. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 alarms, but there were like 4 or 5 different apparatus that were there. Question, maybe you've already answered it. The property, as far as the location of an admin building, does not have to be within the city limits, correct?
It doesn't. Our goal would be to try and stay central, to stay connected to you and the community,
Sure.
but it does not have to be
So consideration, I mean, you mentioned maybe being creative. There are 6 stations now. Is there available property to be able to expand one of those locations to add an admin, kind of like what you have as far as in Fire Station 1?
Unfortunately, currently, all of the stations we have that are completed don't have enough property to, unless we went up, I guess. We do have a piece of property that's central we own the triangle between Second, Amity, and Southside. So that's a 3-acre parcel. So that is one of the considerations is do we build there?
There was at one point a consideration of a station on 11th Avenue North Extension. Do you have property out there still?
We do. We only have an acre and a half there.
Okay. So a budget, if you had something in mind for the admin building, how much square footage would you need, do you know?
At a minimum, we would need 10,000 square feet to fit the size of team we have right now.
Plus expansion then?
Yeah, so we've trying to think forward. We were hoping to find 15,000 square feet. That would be almost a lifetime size administration building for our organization. Obviously, as the mayor was speaking before we started, our borders are touching other cities already, so we don't foresee that we're going to ever get past like 10 stations. That would be the biggest we could see Nampa Fire growing. And so an administrative admin building of 15,000, I think, would be appropriate for the largest that we would get.
So, I mean, we can talk about urban renewal later with Megan online. That's good, but budget-wise then, it would be dependent on trying to create that much square footage on a piece of property you either have or don't have at this point. Debt service, as far as what would you be capable of handling on a yearly basis as far as on a lease to own? Or, I mean, if you were able to reach out into the development community to provide for this need, what would be your potential debt service?
So you're speaking like an annual payment on, so obviously we can't, just like the city, we can't go into debt. So we can't.
You'd be leasing?
Yeah, we could lease to purchase, is that?
Right.
I know right now we have no capacity for that type of thing. We have money we put into a capital replacement plan every year. That's right around $500,000. And that is for the upkeep and maintenance of the facilities we currently have. So I guess with planning, we would be able to increase that slightly every year. We do have about $2 million in impact fees that are earmarked for the growth of our administrative building. So when we look at buildings that are at that $2 million, we know we have some funds that we can do improvements or construction with. But we just know that has to be very specific if we're going to use impact fees. It has to be, so the issue is this, is when we gave up the building at 11th and 2nd, it used to be the Idaho Power Building, and then it became Fire Admin. It was 7,200 square feet, and that's what's on our CIP. And unfortunately, because it's listed on our CIP, I even looked into, if we don't have an administrative building anymore and just gave you back the one that could we redo our CIP and say, we don't have admin space, so can we increase our impact fees? And unfortunately, you can't go backwards. And so anything that we use impact fees has to be for above that 7,200 square feet. So when we talk about that 72 to 10, we can use impact fees for those dollars. So if we were to purchase something that was 10,000 square feet, then a percentage of it, we can use impact fees. And we have up to $2 million in those dollars.
Okay. I'm just kind of filling in the blanks of my questions, so.
Yeah.
That's good for us to start with. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick? Is
Thank you.
how did the 880,000, how did that number get here? How was that calculated?
Calculated based on square footage and value,
Of,
lease rate point of view.
but what part, I guess, where was that calculated from? Because, you know, like Chief said, there's,
We worked on it now 6 months ago, so I can't pull all the details for you.
okay,
We were trying to solve it 6 months ago, and
right.
it's now lingered, so
My
But
question.
when we get to all the issues, we can get down to the details. That's not what today's for, it sounds like, so.
Well, it kind of is, because we're trying, us, you know, as a council here, we're trying to figure out how that dollar amount was figured, because we are tied to the public safety building, right? Which, I know Chief put out the dollar figure of like 1.2 on an annual basis up through 2028 or 2030, depending on how or who you talk to. So the question is how did that 880, how was that contrived and given to, you know, that number presented to us when we're looking at a different number on an annual basis that's paying for a building that, you know, I guess we can occupy, or we can, because if we're still tied to it, can we occupy, are we even allowed to go back to that space?
It's a good question. Clay, do you have the
I
numbers?
can
think
speak
Clay
to that
can
briefly.
speak to that.
So we did ask an independent individual or organization to do a comp for us. So what we did is we looked at the estimated valuation, and we did two different points in time. We did a 2017 evaluation, we did a 2021 evaluation. The 2021 evaluation was at 1.254 for the property that you guys are currently in, and that's based on the total square footage of the building. And then council, I believe, identified the occupied space that fire admin was currently using was the first and second floor, which was about 30 or 6,200 square feet out of the total square foot for the building. And that was the numbers that were used as council identified an 880 value.
And what about the space that we were vacated from?
The vacated space was, I think the perception or the reality was that the space wasn't occupied by fire admin when the annexation took place and the separation took place. So it was looking at the property that was currently being occupied at that time as well as the time today. The valuation for what could be used in impact fees was utilizing the space that was occupied by fire at the public safety building when they moved out, using a calculation rate of what was in the CIP from 2022 for the police growth, and then having that bank of dollars being available for what the council could decide to use for a payment to fire for admin space, minus the enhancements that were made to that property for the remodel to expand the space for the increased staff for PD at that time. So there wasn't a account for that valuation because that wasn't the space that was being occupied at the time of the separation from the city as well as today.
Okay. I'm trying to wrap my arms around this because I have to talk to the taxpayers as well, right? So the piece that I have to say to the taxpayers is that the city is collecting funds, you know, from the bond that we were tied to for the public safety building on that piece, correct?
Well, in DC,
What's that?
when you're saying the city is collecting dollars through.
Right, the
urban
NDC, so
renewal,
there are.
Which don't come to the city. So as Kirk said earlier, just to be clear.
Right.
We're in the same place you are because it's unfortunate. It is what it is. We
Right.
can't change that.
I
But
understand
it is,
that.
yeah.
Funds are being collected
Yeah.
one way or another in that sense there.
You're talking about urban renewal.
Urban renewal.
Urban renewal
funds.
stuff, correct,
Yeah. And then urban renewal's paying for the facility.
right. And like I said, we're still tied to that building. You know, we're not allowed to get out of the urban renewal, so we're still tied to that, and there's money still being collected on behalf of the fire department for the public safety building there. Okay? From my understanding, from multiple discussions, that when they did look at the square footage of that particular building or whatever, that bathroom space, conference room space, things like that were not taken into consideration. They just kind of measured the offices.
I'm going to interrupt you. The analysis that we walked back through, Clay, you could express it, fully looked at all of those issues. We went through several meetings and several walks and different approaches to value that would be typical in the marketplace. And so the common area space, the conference room space, those type of issues were taken into consideration. And the space that you're occupying and have been occupying rent-free downtown is what we then looked at and said, okay, this is this is the amount of space, so therefore, let's concentrate there. So,
And I can provide a little additional context to that. So when we looked at the space that, it wasn't so much what fire was occupying at fire admin. What was used as far as for the CIP and what those dollars could be from the impact funds was the amount of space that police added to theirs, because that's the bucket of funds that we're talking about. So that space was 3,900 square feet. So the administrative office space that was being provided was 3,900 square feet. That is true that there's general space that is also or was used by others, but it wasn't an increase to that space because they already had access to it. Anyone in the building had access.
So now, my understanding is that 880 is what's allowable from the impact fees from police at this point. That's how that was calculated to us.
So the available amount after the remodel deduction was 1.089. That's what was available from impact fees based on the expansion and growth. The determination and looking at what was or should be allocated for fire admin space, and whether that be office space or the building itself or square footage for payment, the building in total, there's 2,600 square feet that's basement space that's included in the valuation of the property. And that space is not occupied by fire. So the calculation was taking the valuation that was provided to the city of that 1.2-ish million, and then looking at the 60-some hundred square feet that's currently being occupied, and using that for the basis of how we would go from a 1.2 to an 880, recognizing there was a floor of space that's not being used. So trying to compensate from a value at that time of the space that the fire admin was being used, or fire was using for admin space, not the totality of the building, because that space wasn't what was being used. So that's how the 880 came to be. It is different than what the allocation or available with the CIP is, but the CIP is based on the square footage that the police department gained, not what fire wasn't using. That's how the CIP calculation came in.
Could I ask a quick question? I think a comment probably and a question. Did we give the same valuation per square foot to the basement space as the other two floors?
no.
No,
Okay, good. Okay, because it wouldn't be
Yeah,
the same valuation.
because
I
it's
just
not
wanna make sure
finished,
we
it's,
didn't-
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so as I sat and listened, the reality is we have a problem, right? And we're trying to find a solution to the problem. We can spend our time going through the little, all the specific details, and I don't disagree with them. The point is, we have a problem. The fire department, the city could use the space. You had space. We're asking you to move out of your space, and you can't afford to get into space because you don't have the funds to do it. And really, the question is, yes, we, letter of the law, have said, okay, it's 880, here we go. But that doesn't solve the problem. And so what you're trying to do is solve the problem. And the question is, can the city add to the 880 to help fire get out of their problem? Do we have a responsibility to, if you look at it technically, maybe not, but do we? What do we do with that? The other thing is, and I'll just say, urban renewal, we understand, and I know Megan's on, and I'm not sure if Robin's on, I don't think she is.
Robin's behind you.
Robin's. Hi, Robin, how are you? So I think you know where I'm going on this, because we've talked about this maybe. The question is, could we do like 1 year, like 600,000 from urban renewal to help offset the costs? I don't know if we're allowed to do that. I know that they technically, I'm not talking about, because I believe it's about 600,000 a year goes into the urban renewal district that would be going to fire. That isn't going to change because of the legislation, and we still have a bond to pay off. It would take 600,000 away from some other project. If they're allowed to, is that a way that we could offset or help with where you are? Because needless to say, the building is sitting in the urban renewal district.
Yeah.
We were in an urban renewal district. Now the building you're purchasing may not be. So there are some other pieces to that. But is there a mechanism, or can the city say, okay, we're going to go up 200,000 and then figure it out? Because,
No.
okay, so that's
We
council.
we spent 3 meetings working
Okay.
on these issues 5-6 months ago.
Okay,
Then it has lingered. And
correct.
now we're here, so we got to brush out some cobwebs, and we should be able to go back to. So we're bringing up new ideas to try to do something when we pretty well had things, I thought, worked out. And we were waiting on the fire to respond.
did.
And worked out. So here we're back starting to try to find new ideas for something, and I think that's a shotgun approach rather than keeping it dialed in.
Well, we had a solution that we said where we are, and so we can stay with that with city council, that no, we're not going to change. However, they can't get out because they don't have a place to go.
Well-
Because there isn't something available. The market is way more, and we understand
The
that.
city's been providing space for 5 years, correct?
Yeah.
You don't pay anything for the space, right?
No, and technically, I guess if we go back to the annexation, there was a reason, that building, the city, if we would have been in an administrative building, it would have transferred ownership to the district at the time of annexation, just like the fire stations. And so we didn't do that on that building because it had a specific reason that the city wanted to keep it. And so we agreed to use it until another solution was found. And I think that's where the distance part comes from, is that was where we were moved to. Police grew and we were asked to leave the building. We were with the city. And that was the only available space. If it would have been any other building, I would have assumed that it would have just been transferred ownership and we wouldn't be having this discussion because the district would own the facility that we are in. And I think that's where we're at today, is the 880 out of impact fees will help us move. It's just, there is not a building that we can purchase for 880 that would work. And so I guess that is, Councilman Bill, is where we're at. Yes, if we would have needed to make a decision 4 months ago, it would be the same question today as it was then, is we need help figuring out what to do, whether that's, and I joke with Clay, but the Hispanic Center is an option for us. I mean, we're a Nampa taxpayer entity, and so literally we would be transferring a facility from Nampa taxpayers to Nampa taxpayers. I've tried to get schools. I've tried everything, and so we're at a point now where we're either going to build or we're going to buy. And the 880 that's in impact fees will be used, and we have some impact fees ourselves. Our reserves we run at about 15 to 20% in reserves. And those, every time we dip into those, it's very difficult to replenish. We're doing it at small bits at a time, just because that's property taxes. We don't have money coming in elsewhere. And the only reason we were able to build it to where we're at today is because of the federal grant that we're currently operating under, and that ends in March. So the larger amounts we've been putting in for the last 3 years will stop in this next budget year. And so we literally are at a point where we need some help figuring out what to do for the city of Nampa and the Nampa Citizens Fire Administration. I guess I could have answered Councilman Rodriguez's question with, please, if we could have what we wanted, give us the building we're in. And then it's done, because that's what would have happened at annexation. That's not what's in the city's best interest. We understand that we want taxpayer in that building, and it's, having the fire department down there may not be part of that downtown plan. And although I will tell you, it's fun to be there. We get a show every day. The police come visit us often, and it is a great place to be. But I guess in the end, for all of us, moving to a fire district was the best thing that we could do for this community. We've been able to do so much. And when I say we have constraints, we're healthy. Within the current budget plans, we're good. We have plans to open stations in the future. It's just this hit would extend that plan years. It's not just one year. A couple $1 million out of our reserves would be years of delay on opening a new station. And so I guess that's our ask, is how do we creatively lessen this impact fiscally? Because if we would have annexed and we would have been in a building, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. We would literally just be talking about, what are we going to do with training, and can we change the lease underneath Station 5 so that we don't have to ever worry about moving from that location? And that's where we would be at today. So ultimately, I think that's where we're at, and we hope that the city could find other options, or whether that's fiscal or facility-wise, to assist, but we are at this point where if we're going to have to start paying lease payments, then we need to come to the conclusion of what we're going to do. So that's what I agree with you. We have to come to an end point. And so, but if we would have come here 4 months ago, we would have told you 880 is not enough. We got to figure out what to do. Give us the building we're in. That was kind of the joke, is give us the building we're in, let us move back into the second floor of the public safety building and be with our friends in blue, or please help us find enough funds to move out.
Mayor? Chief Carpenter, with the 880 and then any reserves that you have in impact fees, if they're applicable, how short are you getting into a new building?
Right now, I would say the least amount that we've seen to be in a well, I think, I don't know what Randy's thinking, but we're almost to the point, I think it's gonna have to be built. We've looked at churches, we've looked at education, we've looked at industrial. So the cheapest building that we could have moved into was the Horton building. It would have been about 3.4 million by the time we were done with remodel. And that's,
That would be moving into, not building, you said?
yeah, that building's gone now.
And-
6,000 square feet in office?
70, at least 75 if they're using impact fees.
75.
At least, right?
Yeah, so so we can't use our impact fees for anything less than 7,500. So that's why we're looking for 10,000, a minimum of 10,000, because it's the 2,500 square feet extra, that's where we can use our impact fees. If the building's less than 7,200, I think, is it 72 or 75, we can't use our impact fees for the purchase or remodel of that.
I think you said
building.
72. So it's whatever you can get into at 7,200 square feet, impact fees will do the difference.
Above.
Above,
Yeah.
right. Councilman Haverfield?
I'm amazed that you're not able to find 10,000 square feet, like in a multi-tenant building. I know the old Macy's building is now vacant and is available.
We've looked.
The old Zilog building is available. I know that there's been some consideration for a charter school there, but would it be necessary for you to own long-term?
Yeah, because I don't want to have the public safety building happen to us again. I mean, I would prefer to own, just because we don't want to have to be asked to be moved again.
I'm just wondering who to reach out on your behalf, so that's what
We did look at Zilog. That's a $12 million building. That was an option. We even asked the county if they'd be willing to partner for like an emergency response center. So we have been trying to do those things, looking at partnerships, and we're testing one now at Station 4 where we have a clinic out of the end of Station 4 where code enforcement used to be. We now have a first responder health clinic that runs out of there for police and fire. So that's a partnership pilot that we're looking at, so that hopefully when we do find another facility that we can, if it's in collaboration, or our hope would be to own and have them as a tenant partner that could help us fund the portion of the payment.
Right. Well, even like the Boys and Girls Club, it was set up with a police substation there in it. So I think there is possibilities, if you're willing to be creative.
Yes.
But I echo Chief's concerns. You know, we're in a position on two different properties right now that we could potentially be vacated from, where, you know, millions have been invested, and that's not in the best interest of the taxpayers. I think you're right that this is something that it'd have to be owned by the district, just so that we don't have this issue 10, 15 years down the road.
It's difficult to know where to go from here. I do hope that we can go ahead. Clay, you'll be taking the lead on this. I'd like to get the documents done on the lease, just those two things, those are the two right now. We'll go ahead and do the 10-year. We'll go ahead and do the lease. I believe that's an FAA issue.
Yeah, we've been working with the airport. The
Yeah.
ultimate goal is we'd love to purchase the property. And the only way you can do that through our research is you have to provide an amount of money that's equal or equivalent to the lease accrual over the lifetime of the property. And so just in quick math, that's about $500,000. So our hope is when they're getting ready to do the new construction at the airport, that we would go through the process of looking at selling the piece of land. It's set up actually for the growth of the airport. We built the station with the idea that someday that airport would be large enough it would need aircraft fire and rescue. So the third bay is actually designed to drive straight into the airfield when it does get there. So we would hope that we could solidify it, that it would just never leave. Currently, and when we were with the city, the lease didn't matter, right? It didn't matter that within the lease it said, we can remove you and you have to remove the building within 90 days, but that's what's in the lease. And so that's the part that is I mean, that would be horrible if that happened. But, so yeah, just our hope is that someday to purchase that land.
Okay. So I'm not sure how we need to solidify that, because you need the protection. You don't need to spend the money right now.
Yeah.
Would be my guess. You need to use that money for
I-
something else.
And yeah, so I think we need to have an answer and an end point to that. Right now, we're pretty comfortable within the lease and the current leadership here. It would be what Commissioner Chan said, as the leadership starts changing at the city, we would like to have it solidified so that it's just like, that's a fire station that serves the community and the airport.
So I think what I'd like to suggest on that, if it meets the approval of the council, is that you guys work on whatever language needs to be done and present that to council. Let's just get that done, present it to council so we can wrap that up, and then also the 2-year. Those are the two outstanding things that need to just be done. So whatever that language shift needs to be, then bring it to council so that they can consider it, so that the lease is solidified, right? Because the anticipation is you're going to stay there, you just need to know that we're not going to make you leave.
Yeah.
And that you eventually would like to purchase it at some time. So whatever, we'll work on that. So the last outstanding item out of everything in the transition is just this property space. So for today, let's just know that we're going to, and Clem, and have you help work on this. Let's get the 10-year done. Let's get the other piece, the lease done, to where you know that you don't have to leave and that we've got whatever language needs to be there. We'll present it to council so that then council can approve it, and that way that can be done. And it brings us back to we have one outstanding issue, and that's really what we want to get done, is just get everything wrapped up. But this one outstanding issue is a difficult issue, and so I guess I need to defer to council and to this body as to what we do on that one.
Mayor?
Yes.
Chief, just a couple more questions. So if you were to build a building that was at least 7,200 square feet, you said it'd be about 3.4 million. How much did you say you had in impact fees?
We have about $2 million that are earmarked for new administrative space, for growth and administration. So about 2 million.
2 million, okay.
Which will cover the cost from 7,200 up to what you're wanting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, that 1.5 acres, I think you said off 11th, did you have plans for that, or what?
No, no. We're currently trying to get the landowner to increase the size of that parcel. We purchased that early 2000s. And if we look at our new demographics, that location doesn't work for a station even. And so that's just an asset that if we can increase it, then that might be future use for someone else or something else in the department's future. But we're actually purchasing property on the north side with Highway 16. It totally changed our growth pattern. And so what we would have thought 5 years ago is we were going to be building stations in southeast. Now is very evident it has to be north. And so Cherry Star area and then Madison Linder area are where we're looking for property.
Thank you.
Chief, when it's convenient, if you can give me the parcel number or address on that piece.
Okay.
So, as we work on things, it's just good to know, and as we explore with things in-house as well as private sector, if we know what are possible tools.
Yeah. Yep.
That would be good. On the fleet building that's underway, at what point do you guys do the impact fee transfer?
Yeah. So I know Chief Adams is here, but we just told Doug, as soon as you guys start construction, we have nearly $500,000 in impact fees for the fleet building. So whenever the project starts.
Okay.
Mayor? Chief, if I have my numbers correct, so with the so if we're looking at 3.4 million, your 2 million impact fees are 880, you guys are short 520,000-ish.
No. Because they can't use the 2 million unless it's above the 7,200 square feet. So unless they may be, if it's a 10,000 square foot building and it's 3 million, they could use 30% of that could cover the 3 million.
Yeah, so we could only use about 900,000 of the impact fees on that size of a building.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we've been looking at existing that was large, that we could use impact fees for remodel. Like the Cultural Hispanic Center.
In reality, when you look at, existing buildings versus brand new, the existing buildings per square foot is more affordable than trying to go out and build new, just because you got the land purchase and everything. You guys know what it costs to build a brand new building. You're gonna be, $400 a square foot-ish, versus buying something new and then doing a remodel. I'd say these guys, Chief Carpenter, Chief Adams, has exhausted a lot of different possibilities and looked at a lot of different properties, but trying to find something with that plus part. And the hard part is you can find a building, and you guys know downtown, the building doesn't do as good if it's only got 4 parking spots.
Yeah, and I think.
Long-term, it's really not a fit.
No, and that's why when we talked about that building, I know in previous sessions, we said that parking lot next to it is invaluable, just because it does allow that piece. So, but looking at properties within Nampa or within our district, it's, trying to find something that has that space that would allows easy access for fire trucks to come in and out, because they have to come to admin, but also centrally located, so that we're not pulling, if somebody has to come, if a crew has to come in from their station, we're not pulling them completely to the other side of the district and back and pulling them out of their response district, so.
Yeah, and I guess, Councilman Bills, to give you an idea, if you know where Wahoo's is, the appetizer place over there off of 3rd Avenue North and is it 8th? Yeah, in the industrial there. So if you're heading out to Mother Earth Brewery,
It's
there's
near
the old
Ferguson.
Wahoo's. Those are the type of places. Robertson Supply on 6th and 4th, we've looked at that. And just, but that, those are starting at 4 million. And so, we're open. The Mona Lisa or whatever it was, we're like, that's in the urban renewal. Could we get the Mona Lisa? It's 8,000 square feet and do some remodel on it. So we're open. Like we are willing to do work and look. And I guess knowing the council as I do, yeah. You may have a partnership that we can find that makes these things possible. We did look at Macy's. We actually a long time ago. We looked at the church that was looking to purchase Macy's. So we're open. We watched as Star, very similarly, if you know the history of Star Fire Department, they purchased a vitamin manufacturing building a long time ago in collaboration with the city. So the city actually purchased the building, the fire district remodeled, and then within 2 years, the fire district repaid the city for the purchase of the building. And now that building itself is a revenue generation for Star because they started a maintenance shop for fire engines, and that's how they get a large revenue resource from them. So we're open to all thoughts.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm confused about the impact fees, Chief. So I heard, for the urban renewal district, I heard a 1.2 million, and then I heard a 600,000. How much?
So, yeah, and this is something I learned just a few weeks ago from Steve Onifray. So currently, when you look at the increment tax from the fire district, it's 1.25 million goes into the urban renewal district from
Annually.
fire, annually. As I learned more when you look at the printout, at the bottom, it says budget increase of 700,000. And I'm like, well, there's only a 10% cap, so I'm trying to figure that out. It turns out anything that occurred, any growth that occurred before the date of annexation, those dollars go to the city. So the increased budget amount for the fire department is only a portion of the 1.25. The rest will go back to the city. And so of the 1.25, you would apply a cap. And so there's just over $1 million in increment that would go into budgets. 700 of that would go to the fire department. The rest goes to the city. at the time of sunset. So when urban renewal is done, a portion of the increment that's currently the fire districts is going to be the cities.
So you're paying 1.2 million annually, and then once it sunsets, you're getting 700 annually back?
Yes.
So, question mark, then, does the fire district have the ability to do a lease to own?
We can, as long as, well, we can't be in debt. It has to have that clause, right? Where if we,
If you don't get funded,
Yep,
why the
yep.
lease doesn't?
Yes.
I've been involved years back with leasing buildings to the state. And
yep, yes, we can.
I would say we'd have to obviously meet with council or our lawyer just to make sure that that is.
Oh, yeah,
Just because we can't get ourselves into debt, I don't want to.
I just generally wanted to know, so know how to explore options in the marketplace.
Yes, we did that with the fire engines right before annexation, so, and we took those leases from the city at the time, so we can do lease, as long as it has the clause that makes it copacetic with state statute.
Like any government lease deal. Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor, this is Megan Conrad. I just wanted to make a technical comment about what happens to the dollars at termination of a revenue allocation area, if that's helpful.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So at termination of a revenue allocation area, it's just in its technical sense, a dollar doesn't flow. What used to flow to the agency doesn't turn around and start flowing back to the taxing district. So the reality is that these are budget and levy based by each taxing district. So it depends on, a taxing district's ability to increase its budget by 3% or through annexation or through new construction. So at termination of a revenue allocation area, and this is also an impact of House Bill 389, but 80% of the increment value that has accrued since 2006 is placed on the new construction roll for budget capacity increases. And then 80% is then multiplied by the preliminary levy rate, which contemplates that new value coming on the tax roll. So it really tanks the levy rate. So it is something less than I think than what we're discussing here. I just wanted to make that clarification.
That's helpful, thank you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, which is candidly, it's very unfortunate because our levy rate has gone down because of 389 and the urban renewal, now we only take 80%, 20% we don't get to take, any of us.
Yeah.
We need to get that corrected before it sunsets because it's actually devastating, but our levy rate, thank you for explaining that, Megan. Megan is
Mayor, if I
legal
could ask
counsel
council a
for,
question real quick?
yeah.
I did believe that there was a change to the law that took urban renewal sunsets outside of the 8% cap. Isn't that correct? Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, council and commission members. Yes, so there is the benefit that to the extent the 80% that goes on the new construction roll multiplied by the preliminary levy rate, to the extent that exceeds the 8% cap, then that is permitted.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So I feel like we're kicking something around and we're not coming to an outcome, and I don't know that we can today, but we need to. So I guess I'd like to ask, I know with the fire district, you guys would like an answer, and we need to bring this to resolution. Council, how would you like to proceed?
I think we still need to workshop some of the issues. And our, the 2 or 3 team members on council that was working on this and continue to explore the options and see the math.
Okay.
I don't think we're ready to put something on the agenda for a vote right away, at least from my perspective. And I think there's a need to have a little bit of time to go into the marketplace and see if we can find some solutions.
I have a question. Is the Mona Lisa at all an option? Because sometimes it's been on the market a bit, but also
it would-
buildings move.
It
Is
would
that an
take some.
option?
It would take some work.
It would take some work.
If you look at the front of it, it kind of looks like a fire station, so. The
It was a
parking
livery
is,
stable.
the parking is okay, for right now. To be honest, looking far into the future, none of us will be around, but I could see it working for an admin right now and then probably move to more of like a fire museum into the future someday. It is one of the oldest buildings in the city. So, we talked about it yesterday, and if that's our option, and that's where our home is, it's central, and it would be for a while until, I'm gonna guess until the city continues to grow and you start seeing, as Randy said, but there will be a point where we have to build up rather than out, and that would be a corner that would be pretty valuable someday as well. So, we wouldn't really have a concern of being able to get rid of it into the future if we needed to.
Okay. Okay. So.
Yeah, and again, council, we appreciate it. We would love the opportunity to workshop and come up with solutions. Knowing what your next meeting is going into, we would hope that you consider that there's value that we took negotiating with the firefighters away from you. So maybe that's worth some monetary value to you. But ending on a light note, we do want to say thank you. We will and always will be continued good partners with the city. We like being collaborative. We love to look at things through different lenses, and whether that's how we're responding to the community and how we can do better, that's our charge. And so we'll be good partners. We just hope that we can come to a solution and then, as you want, move on to do better and more things.
So we have three things to do. One, what's the two items that we just discussed? And Clay, we're going to have you guys work together. Let's come back to the council with a proposal so that we can start getting that language done. And then we'll reconvene the working group that had convened some time ago. We haven't met for a long time, which was a couple council members. So Clay, I've got to go back and see. David, you were on there. Natalie, were you on there? I don't remember. It was Victor?
Mayor Kling, I was on there.
Okay. So we'll look at reconvening a team and maybe have some discussions around that, but let's move as quickly as possible. I would encourage us to take a serious look at that building, and if there's something, if you're interested, if it's not interested, don't, but it's just a thought. Yeah. So.
Mayor Kling? Yes, I was just going to tell you that I'll be available. I was on that initial committee, so I'll be available whenever.
Thank you. And Councilman Haverfield?
Megan, while we got you online, can you check into the restrictions as far as use of urban renewal dollars for potentially involvement on that building? It's on 11th Avenue North, just on the other side of the tracks, so it falls within the urban renewal area that's defined. Can you check and see what we can do from an urban renewal standpoint?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, Council members. Just a quick high-level peek into what that looks like, but due to the continued revisions to the urban renewal statutes, one of those resulted in Idaho Code Section 50-2905A. And basically what that says is TIF combined with other public dollars cannot exceed 51% of the total project costs without triggering a vote requiring 60% voter approval, and that would be a citywide vote. And then the project is for construction of a municipal building. There are exceptions. One is that if the remodel is less than $1 million, which that's a really low threshold. So if the remodel is anticipated to be above $1 million, the agency cannot participate in that without triggering the vote requirements. There are, and also to participate, it would have to be within the boundaries of a revenue allocation area, and there is an exception for below ground type infrastructure. So, to the extent there's water, sewer, power type needs, or improvements to perhaps the parking lot or sidewalks adjacent, that's kind of the space that we're really limited to here.
So question then, follow-up question. Is it permissible for the urban renewal district to purchase the property and or building and do a lease with the fire district And within that lease, the fire district would do the tenant improvements. And at the time of sunsetting the urban renewal, the building would transfer.
That would require, I'm not prepared to answer that as sitting here.
Well, it's an
Certainly, if we're
idea.
talking about, yeah, if 502905A, I think the question is the property part of the, construction or remodel of this type of administrative building? We can, I think, look at that, but remember, the district does sunset, and that date is fast approaching when it comes down to it. So, but happy to look into that.
Thank
Well,
you, please do.
There's an option in that idea, and we just need to walk through it, structure it, and then see if it meets the code.
Thank you, Councilman Bills, for that suggestion. Okay, so I think we have our marching orders. Clay, do you feel like they're clear?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, we've got some work to do. Is there anything else that we needed to discuss while we were together today? Yes.
Mayor, I'd just like to echo everything that you and Chief Carpenter has said. Like, we, as this board, have sat and tried to find what is best for the citizens of Nampa. And it's unfortunate that the building that we're in was needed by the city, because we wouldn't be having this discussion from 5 years ago, and we could have just taken care of it. And so again, that's what we're trying to do, is just to figure out how can we best serve the citizens of Nampa that we've been elected to serve, and continue the service that the fire district is provided, and the increase in service that we've been able to provide since we've separated. And so that, as we go through all that thing, that's what I keep coming back to. It's just like, what can we best do and what's in the best interest of our citizens? So.
Thank you for that comment. You're absolutely right. Thank you all. To as trustees or commissioners, thank you for your willingness to run, to be there, to really to work through this process with the new fire district. That's been a heavy lift. Cleo, you've been at it for a bit. Just a bit. I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for one, and staying with it, because it's important. Institutional knowledge is important. I think the greatest concern, and Kirk and I have talked about it a lot, is when the institutional knowledge is gone, and that's where the documents come in, we have to make sure that what we have written down actually memorializes what the intent was and where we're going. And so I appreciate this group's willingness to collaborate together, because it is us, it's our citizens, it's we, and this has not been an easy process. This is the end of it, and we do need to wrap it up and get it done and do it well, really for our citizens, because that's who we're here to serve. And so thank you for your comments, Paul. Appreciate it. Okay, if there isn't, yes, Clay.
I think it might just be worth adding, I know we've had a lot of conversation on the urban renewal district, recognizing the good things that have come from that it's not just, everyone against that entity, if you will. I know we've got the team here to work with that, but there's a lot of good that has come, and I know there's some struggles and challenges because of it, but very appreciative for the impact it has made on the community and what it has brought to that area. So I just think it's worth adding that.
Thank you. So with that, I think that we've concluded this portion of our meeting, and we are going to be adjourning into executive session. So why don't we go ahead, I would stand for a motion to adjourn into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 742061J, and this is to consider labor contract matters authorized under section 74206A, 1A and B Idaho Code. Actually, J too, yes. So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call. Rodriguez, I think, yeah,
Yes.
okay. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Bills?
Yes.
Kangula?
Yes.
Reynolds? Haverfield?
Yes.
Thank you.